Hey guys, this is Jennifer. I wanted to show you how I make painty papers, and it's a 5-step process, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of mess. You can see I've got my whole desk covered up because I'm afraid I will get paint everywhere. Actually, I'm sure I will. Um, so let's get into it. I call it the 5 S's of painty papers. You do these 5 steps, and of course, you can do whatever you want. I'm just making suggestions. If you're at a standstill and don't know where to begin, here's a good way to do it. Okay, let's get started. The first one is Squeegie. Now, I generally just use an old credit card or gift card or whatever. Tim got this at the hardware store. This is a squeegee you can buy, at Ace or the Depot or whatever. This is some junk mail I got. It's perfectly useful. Here's some gift cards. These I found at a thrift store. They are Faber-Castell, and they have ridges on them, all different ridges. So that might be kind of fun to use. But anyway, let's get started. The first thing is, and I wanted to talk about paint for a second. I don't always use acrylics. I use whatever I can get my hands on. And when I go to thrift stores and yard sales, sometimes I can find oops paint. This is what they call oops paint is they mix it incorrectly, or it's not the color the customer wants. They can't resell it, so it goes on a shelf. I find them at Home Depot. This is particularly good. I like the container in this one. This is Sherwin-Williams, and I happen to love bright colors, as you can see. That's pretty bright. I love that green. So this is Sherwin-Williams. This is Valspar. This might have come from Home Depot, I think, maybe. And then, of course, you always get your acrylics. You can use whatever you want. I tend to try and find flat or satin because here in Florida, the pages tend to stick when you get the gloss. That's why I don't use Mod Podge, because Mod Podge sticks. I've tried everything, waxing, powder, etc., and I cannot get pages not to stick. So I try to avoid glossy paints. So let me start with piece of paper here, and I'm just using some book pages. You can use office paper, whatever you want, whatever you have. All right, so here we go. I'm dipping it in the paint, squeegee. There you go. And what I like to do is, I don't like a lot of white space. Let me get that out of the way. So I like to cover the page almost completely. A little bit of white space is cool. A lot of white space, not so much. At least for me. You might like it. Here's another color. Just dip and squeegee. And there we go. So, and if you squeegee this on thin, and I like to try and use 3 colors. If you squeegee it on thin enough, it dries almost immediately. Okay, so there's squeegee. Layer number 1. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Squeegee. Okay, there you go. Alright, I'm going to let that dry over here. And I've got a page over here that I've already done that has been squeegee. So that's all that's been done on layer number 1. Okay, layer number 2 is stencils. Let's use some stencils. So a rule of thumb I like to use is you want your layers to be contrasting. So these are yellows, greens, and oranges, which I would call warm. So let's put something cool on top of it. That would be a nice contrast. Also, if your base is dark, you might want to go with a lighter as opposed to, if you follow what I'm saying. You don't want it to be, although tone on tone is very cool. So let me grab a stencil here. Here's a stencil. I got these on Amazon, I believe. And so layer number 2 is stencil. And I just use chip brushes. These are cheap throwaway brushes. You can tell, I've used this one for years. I buy these at Harbor Freight. You can get them in a box of, I think it's 20 or 24, something like that. Cheap, cheap. You just throw them away when they get nasty. I mean, you don't need to go crazy. So, with expensive tools. So I'm just going to dry brush, because I don't care if this is perfect or not, because we're throwing extra layers on top. And what's nice about all the layers is you get a nice, yummy I'm here. Nice, yummy colors. I mean, for me, I love the bright colors, so I am always going to do brights. You know, if you like the more natural tones or whatever, then stay in the family of colors. It's whatever your particular tastes are. Okay, that's dry brushed. Let me pull this up. There we go. Not as much of a contrast as I had hoped, but let me try it again with a different color. Let's try that. Yeah, I've got a bunch of these. Here's another one. I've got a bunch of these made up ahead of time. So let's try something darker. Let's try, because we got warm colors on the bottom, I'm going to go for a cool color as my next layer. And here we go. Let's throw some purple on there. And I've got these papers on my desk because I tend to get paint everywhere. And again, I'm just going to dry brush. And not that the last one was wrong. I mean, it's perfectly good. It'll look gorgeous on in a junk journal or on tags or whatever you want to use it for. But I like to see the contrast. So here we go. Hopefully this will come out a little, so you can see it better, is the main thing. All right, that's pretty good. There we go. A little bit more of a contrast. Okay? So, there are better ways to do stenciling. Here's a stenciling brush, which, you know, if you were going to do it, if you wanted to get real fussy about it, you could use a stenciling brush. I don't care. I'm just trying to create layers and layers of color, contrasting color. So here we go. Let me put the stencil aside. Actually, we could do this one since that was the first one we did. All right, that's dry enough. The squeegee, if you put it on thin enough, it dries like almost immediately. So that's kind of nice because you can go on to your next step. And the other thing is, I would do as many stencils as you want. Maybe you don't have stencils and you move on to the next step. You don't have to do these steps the way I'm showing you. It's a way for you to get paint on paper to play, to just play. That's the main thing. All right, so I've got my squeegee, I've got my stencils. Layer 3, stamps. Now, I happen to love all kinds of stamps, but primarily what I like to use is for painting papers, I like to use foam stamps. Now, I have oodles of foam stamps. Generally, you find these in the kids department in your craft stores. I find them in the thrift stores a lot, so I pick them up there whenever I can find them. And I just love that they're real easy to use with acrylics, whereas your block stamps, your wooden stamps, not so much. So let's pick another color. I'm going to put this purple aside. And since I've already done a warm color, I'm going to go with a cool color. I apologize. This is a cool color, purple. So I'm going to go with a warm color. And my warm color is going to be, let me grab some. How about some pink? We got some pink right here. Cover that up. All right. This isn't quite dry, but I'll show you. All right. Maybe, no, let me pick something else. There we go. How about some of this? Ooh. All right, I am going to grab some of it. Oh, no, look how hard that is. Ooh. Put some water in that. That's it. I guess we're not using that color. Let me find a different one. All right, let's find. What's this one? Get some yellow. We'll use yellow. How about this hot pink? Jesus, hot pink. All right. It's kind of watery, so I don't know how good that's going to be. I probably should have tested these before I... It was a little watery. Right, let me try this one. There we go. Whoops. Whoops. All right. That's a little better. Maybe mix the two. It's a little thick. And this is just about having fun. Getting some paint on paper. All right. So I'm going to take, this is one of my faves. I'm going to take this little flower and I'm just going to stomp it in there and make sure I got full coverage. All right. And I don't care if there's too much paint on there. I can always stamp off a little bit over here to get it the consistency I want. And here we go. That is a little watery than I would like, but all right. So you get the idea. There we go. We've got warm in the squeegee, cool color in the stencil, warm in the stamp. Let me try another one. Okay, this one is one I squeegeed before, and I am going to put some, let's try some purple on this, even though I'm doing a warm on a warm. Let's give it a try. What we're going for is contrast. So if you got a dark, you put a light. If you got a light, you got a dark. If you got a warm, put a cool. If you got a cool, put a warm. All right, that's working pretty good. That'll be nice. And I like a lot of coverage, so what I would probably do is let these dry and do another layer of stamps. But for demonstration purposes, I just wanted to show you how I did it. All right, the next layer is Scribble. Get my little signage here, Scribble. We are going to, I like to use Posca pens for this. I'm sure you can use crayons, you can use whatever you might happen to have that colored pencils. I mean, you can just play with whatever you have. And let me grab a color here. I'm going to use orange because that's a nice contrast. It's a warm against a cool, and it'd be better if this were dry, of course, but I'm just going to outline my butterflies. And I'm not going to go crazy. It just adds another layer. And if this were dry, I would probably draw inside as well. Just adding another layer of color. Contrasting layer of color. Okay. So you get the idea. All right. I'm trying to be careful because the paint's wet. All right. That's my fourth layer. Now, because this isn't busy enough for me, I would probably do another layer of stamps. Stamping's probably my favorite, and once it's dried, and then I would see how I liked it and go again. I mean, let's see what we can do here. The paint's kind of thick. You see what I mean? You just do layer on layer on layer on layer. And of course my drop paper will become painting paper. Okay, once you get your layers on, and layer number 5, splatter. Okay, you can do this a couple of ways. I bought one of those, these are splatter brush, Tim Holtz splatter brushes, and these are good with, you can see it's real flexible. And what I will do here is I'm going to put some water, because you want it watered down, your paint. And I'm going to put a little bit of this. Boop. And this is where it's about to get messy. All right, I'm just run my finger across the bristles. And there you go. All right, that's it. So the review is, first we squeegee, then we stencil, then we stamp, then we scribble, and then we splatter. So this one is, I'm going to put it outside to dry because we have a beautiful Florida sunshine, and work on the next one. I would love to swap Painty Papers with you. So I have included a snail mail address if you want to send me some, and I will send you some back. Also, I will scan some of my Painty Papers and put them up on our Facebook group so you may download them. If you do not have paints or some of these tools I've mentioned, or don't even want to get messy, that might be an easier way for you to go. It's up to you. Let me show you a book cover that I did. That was all, this is using that same technique. I did a bunch of book covers this way. I've sent some covers to friends. I've sent one to Defy. All this similar cover. And I'll load this one on Facebook because this is a fun one. But you can see it's multiple layers. I've got maybe 4 or 5 layers just of stamps on this one. So, you know, do it to your heart's content. I mean, who's to say this is too much and this is not enough? So let's have some fun, guys. Let's share some Painty Papers, and I look forward to hearing from you. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Bye-bye.